So I apologize in advance if this video is a little loud or difficult to understand while I'm working, but the reason why is I have a puppy here, and he's a little rambunctious. He's about 14 weeks old. This is Jack. He is technically my dog, and he's busy devouring rocks, apparently. I better get to that. But he might be barking in the background while I'm trying to do this. Today we're doing something I told myself I would never do again. We're doing a speaker install. And this is courtesy of Bimmertech, which makes Alpha 1 speakers. And they sent me the kit so that I could install them in my JCW. So I thought I would go ahead and do that. Given the difficulties that I've gone through with my previous Mini in terms of speaker installation, you'll understand why I may skip some steps. I may wait before I do the rear of the car, but I am going to do the doors, the A-pillars, the subs, and the center speaker in the dash. So let's get started. But first, Black Friday starts early at Bimmertech, and they have given my subscribers and viewers a special discount code that'll give you 10% off on all products, or for orders over $1,500, 15% off. The discount code is good through the end of this year while stocks last. And I've been told they're limited, so you may want to get over there now if you want to get an awesome speaker system for your JCW, or even one for your BMW 3 Series, whatever you happen to have if you're watching this channel. Head on over to Bimmertech. They got a lot of cool stuff over there, and use my discount code. You'll save some money, and who wouldn't want to save some money? But let's get back to the install. So I've never opened these speakers, and this is the first time opening the box. So they come in these really nice black boxes with shiny Alpha 1 logo on the front, and I'm gonna open this box up. And so those are the subs, and those look pretty slick. And they got a little card in here telling me a little bit about the speakers as well. So those are the Alpha 1 subs that are gonna go under the seats in my car. Now, if you want to see how these compare to my Harman Kardon speakers, I have them out of my old car, and this is the sub that was in my old car. And as you can see, very similar design, except obviously these are cleaner and much, much nicer. I really like how these look. So this is the old one, this is the new one, and these will end up going under the seats, so I'll have to take the seats out of the car in order to install these. The other box contains the rest of the speakers for this car, and wow, that is pretty impressive. So we have 4 main speakers plus the tweeters, and we have the center dash speaker as well, and along with that we have all the necessary hardware to install them. So very, very nice speakers. Now, for comparison's sake, we're going to bring out the old speakers as well. So this is one of the old Harman Kardon tweeters, and these are one of the new ones, and they look literally identical, except I've been told these are much, much better. And then when we go to the original speakers, these are the Harman Kardon speakers. Very simple design. And then this, not only is it slightly thinner, but much, much cleaner look, nice aesthetic, polished aluminum, really, really sharp. I really like these. Now, you may be curious about ease of installation. Well, if you're going to be installing these in your car, it's going to be labor intensive. You are going to have to take a lot of the interior out. If you have a 4-door Mini Cooper, like the hardtop, the Clubman, and the Countryman, it'll be so much easier to install these. But on the 2 doors and the convertibles, you have to remove a lot of the interior trim to get to them, which is why I'm going to be skipping the rear of the car today and just focusing on the front of the vehicle, because that's where the majority of the speakers are. So I want to get all those done and show you all a little bit how it is done. But once you get all those details and everything out of the car, these are plug and play. They plug right into the existing cables. You don't have to splice any wires. You don't have to do anything like that, which makes these great as far as upgrades go. Now, this particular set that I have includes all the speakers you need to upgrade the Harman Kardon system in your vehicle. All the speakers, all the tweeters, and the subwoofer. So everything you need is available in this kit to install it in the car. Now, as far as the amplifier in your car, now you might be curious about that. Yes, it's not part of this kit, but Alpha 1 does offer premium amplifiers for BMW and Mini applications. So if you're looking for one of those, you can definitely reach out to them and they'll make sure to help you out. Now, one of my big things with upgrading the sound system in the car is it increases clarity, power, and bass. And as the car gets older and the speakers get older, they tend to degrade over time. So upgrading them to a better quality speaker is a great way of getting better sound out of your stereo system in your car. Now, the Harman Kardon sound system in the Mini Cooper is probably one of the best you can get in the Mini, but upgrading it to these other speakers just adds a whole different level to your sound quality when you're in your car. And this is one of the best upgrades you could possibly do if you're going to do stereos. And the great thing about it is it's relatively easy to do. Now, another thing about these speakers which makes them so great is they are made with premium materials, and they come with a 2-year warranty and professional after-sales support. So if you're having trouble installing them or something's missing in the kit, give them a call, send them an email, and they'll make sure to get it corrected. But everything is here, so we can definitely get started with this. I just got to clean out the car first. Okay, so part of the prep work is cleaning out the interior. So I got most of the trash and everything out. We will have to take the seats out of the car to get to the subs, and probably a good opportunity to do that given the fact that I have to fix the driver's seat because the back cover is flapped loose. I also have to take the door panels out. Now, there are Torx screws all over this thing to take that out. Now, to access the tweeters in the A-pillars, I have to remove the A-pillars. The easiest way to do that is actually to pull away the weather stripping on the sides a little bit to give yourself a little bit more leverage, and then basically just pull it out. As far as the center grille goes, that is relatively easy to remove as well. Now, why am I avoiding doing the back? Well, to do those speakers in this car, you have to take the entire rear seat out. You have to take the trim pieces off on the sides. Those 2 panels have to come out, and the whole seat has to come out of the car. So a lot of interior has to be removed to do this, and I don't have the time today to do that. But if you want to see how it's done, I have done it previously. You can find a video on that. Once you do get them out, it's very easy to install those speakers. But before we get to that, we have to take the door panels out. So let's get to it. Okay, so the bottom screw on the door is a T20. There's one here, and there's one here, and that should be it. So you can use power tools when you're doing this, but sometimes hand tools tend to be better in this case. However, if you have a dog around you like I do right now, try to keep the screws away from him because he will eat them. And I know this because he's done it already. He got them in his mouth. He didn't actually eat them. And then double check to make sure you got those out. Okay. So, next up is this trim piece right here that's in the door panel. Now that actually comes out relatively easy. Now, as part of this, it's always a good idea to have panel removing tools because then you can get in here and just pop things out really easy like that. So this cover is now out, and there is a screw back here that you have to take out, and the screw is now out of there. Now these screws are all about the same size, so you don't have to worry about putting them back in the exact spot. Now you have to take out the switch panel here, have your panel removal tool again. See if you can find an edge to get it under. There we go. And just gentle prying motion, and it should come right out. There we go. Now you want to make sure you disconnect so that you can remove it. So there we go, and there we go. Now this switch is now out of the car, which leaves me one more T20 screw, which is right here. So now I got that screw out of the car. Since Bimmertech was so nice to actually make my job a lot easier, now I actually can do this a little bit easier than the last time I've done this. So I have to disconnect that. There we go. There we go. And now we just remove the 3 screws holding it in place. And now this speaker should come right out. That was really easy. Almost too easy. So now we have the speaker out, let's grab our new one and reinstall it. And now that we've connected the speaker and plugged it back in, now we just need to rehang the door panel. So I'm gonna get to that and then I'll move to the other side of the car. Okay, now some of you out there might not know this, and I forgot about this. This piece here is not supposed to come off the door panel. These are friction clips that the panel is supposed to snap into. So I inadvertently removed this, but just for your reference so that you don't make the same mistake I did. Now that I've done that, you can see the speaker a little bit better. And if I had done it correctly the first time, you would have been able to see me install it. But here it is. So that's the new speaker installed, plugged in. You don't have to remove anything else. Do not remove this screw, or that screw. Just leave it as is. I didn't have to disconnect anything else in here. I didn't have to plug anything else in here. It's all pretty much where it was, and I'm not going to mess with it any further. So there it is. There's the new Alpha 1 speaker plugged in on the front. I'm going to get to the A-pillars, but first I'm going to finish up the passenger side of the car, and then we'll work our way around. Now, another thing I want to mention as well when you're putting the screws back in is don't over tighten. Don't feel like you have to make it as tight as possible, because you can crack this plastic if you're not careful, and you really don't want to do that. So as soon as you meet some resistance, stop tightening it. Plus, I also found out that if you tighten them too tight, you're going to hear a lot more squeaks, especially now that you've taken the interior of your car apart, and you really don't want to do that either. So just a heads up. So now the next thing is to get these panels off to get to the tweeters and the panel in the dash. This is going to take a little bit of time. It's not quite as easy as it sounds. You do need to get a trim removal tool in here and carefully pry these panels away. They will pop away, but just be careful. On top of that, your airbag is right here, so you don't want to hit that. So case in point, be very careful when you take this panel off. There's the tweeter right there, but there's your airbag, and you don't want to hit that, because if you hit that, you will detonate the entire curtain airbag all the way to the back of the car. So be very, very careful when you do this. Center grill here is a bit of a challenge, but once you finally pry it up, there you go, your access to your speaker and your tweeter. So let's get to those. Now, when you install these, make sure you install the correct speaker for the center of the dash, but also the correct tweeter. This one has a specific angled mounting plate so that it can fit up there. So you want to make sure you do this correctly. Also, the connectors up here are not as easy to remove as you would like them to be. Be very careful. If you break them, it's going to be expensive to replace that, so don't do that. So now there you have it. Those speakers are installed, and we can now cover this back up and hide it away forever. So, there you go. Okay, so now we get to the more slightly laborious part of the process, and that is installing the subs. Now, they are located underneath the front seats, and to get to them, we actually have to take the seats sort of out of the car. You don't have to disconnect them to remove them. If you disconnect them and remove them, you will get an airbag warning light, which means you'll have to get that code cleared. But you can unbolt these and tip them back and have the same result, so you can get to this and get what you need done. So before we do that, I'm going to show you side by side what the subs look like. So there you have it. This is the old one, and that's the new one. And the new one's very, very nice. They look very similar, which is nice as well. So this should be a relatively easy install once you get to it. But first, we got to get these bolts out. Now, the easiest way to do this is really, you need to raise the seat, and that's so you can actually get to all 4 bolts. Otherwise, this is going to be a very difficult installation process. And now that I've done that, now I got to adjust the seat so I can actually get to what I need to get to. Okay, so I'm going to have to take out 2 of the bolts, slide it forward, take out the other 2. And to do that, we're going to use a T50 Torx bit. And yes, this wrench will do this. One down, 3 to go. Now what I'm going to do to make my life easier is I'm not going to hit the tilt. I'm going to just slide it forward so I can access the 2 rear bolts. That way the tracks won't move back and forth and mess up everything. That's the 4th bolt. So now that you've gotten all 4 bolts out, now you have to just tilt the seat back and out of the way. There you go. So now it's out of the way and you can actually get to this under here. But I'm also going to take the seat out because I need to have Jorge here at this shop check the fabric on the back of it. Okay, so with the seat out of the car, it's going to make this a lot easier to show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to grab a T20 for the grill that the sub is under. And it's definitely handy that Bimmertech included all these tools, because otherwise I would have had to go digging for every tool that I have. And that just makes the job a little bit more complicated. Now, if you want to, you can also take this opportunity to vacuum under your carpet, because much like my car, it's messy. So 4 screws to take the grill out. And you might be asking yourself, why is it this messy for a 2-year-old car? Well, 86,000 miles. I drive a lot for work, and when I was traveling with the racing team, I spent a lot of time in this car, so it's going to be messy. So take the grill off. There's our sub. Now we got to go a step further. There are 4 screws, as you can see, 1 in each corner, and you got to remove those to get the rest of this out. Thankfully, they are also T20. You will not mix these up for the grill screws because they are much longer. And those actually don't come out as difficult as they sound, despite the fact that they are tucked under the carpet. In fact, you could just use a regular driver and take these out. And that last one is tucked right back here. Just get in there. And there we go. Don't be afraid about pressing the carpet or harming it. You're not going to hurt it. And it's underneath the driver's seat. No one's ever going to see it. All 4 screws are loose. This is not, but if you shake it enough, it should eventually pop loose. There we go. Once you jog it loose, pull it out carefully. Pop the connector, whatever you have that'll remove it and not hurt it. And there you go. Your stock sub is now out of the car. And your aftermarket sub is going in. There we go. Nice and snug. Now, what I like about the Alpha 1 subs compared to other subs I've used, like Bavsound's Ghost subs, is the fact that they fit flush under the floor. And I had already installed the one on the passenger side, and I love the fact that when I installed it under the floor, the grill sat flush in an OEM position, which is not what I had with the Bavsounds that I've used before. As for why Mini decided to put their subs underneath the seats, that is anyone's guess, because that is a royal pain in the butt to take your seats out just to put subs in. But there you go. This is pretty much back in the car. And now we put the screws back in and the cover is back in place. But you can already see how nice and flush this sits compared to the other aftermarkets available, and gives you a very nice OEM appearance. And there you have it. All right then, so now comes the more tedious part of this installation process. I have to take out the back seat and the side trim panels in order to install the rear speakers. The reason why is that is the only way to get to them. So I better get started on this, and the first step is to remove the rear seat cushions. All right, well, I figured out how to do this without having to remove the whole interior of the car. So I got the interior trim panel pulled away, held with a bungee cord. Got a light in here thanks to one of the technicians here. And so there's the speaker, there's our tweeter, and I just need to remove this with T20s and remove that with a little pry tool, and then we will have this rear speaker installed. Well, we got the tweeter plugged in here. We got the speaker installed there. That's it. Make sure the wiring is where it needs to be. Now I just need to button this side up and move to the other side, and then we are done with the rear speaker install. And by the way, it's not nearly as difficult as I thought it was going to be. The good news with all of this is that once you've done one side of the car, the other side becomes incredibly easy. You see, based on previous experience, I thought it would be. But if you have a bungee cord with you, it makes the process a little bit easier. Just make sure that you're very careful. Don't damage the interior trim pieces, obviously. And make sure you remove the screws in the correct format. Make sure you remove the clips in the correct format. If you see right here along the windowsill, there's these friction clips. Make sure that you pop those off the panel if you did pop them loose, and make sure that those clip right back in. But it should go pretty easy to put this thing back where it was. So now let's hear how this sounds. What do you think?
I think it sounds really good, honestly.
I think it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Well, there you have it. That is a successful speaker install on this JCW. Now I just got to put the back seat back in, which I don't think it'll take nearly as long as I thought it would. Overall, fantastic quality. The install is a little bit challenging if you're not familiar with removing pieces on the interiors of a Mini Cooper. Something you want to familiarize yourself with if you're going to do this by yourself. But I want to thank Bimmertech for sending out this Alpha 1 kit for me to install in my car. And as always, life is too short to drive a boring car, so drive a Mini. And I will see you all in the next video.